Hi, this is John with Chest Freezer Cold Plunge, and I'm really grateful and excited to have Jen Hodgson with us this morning. And we're just going to have a conversation about her journey with the cold water, what was going on with her before she started this practice and how it's made a difference for her. And then we'll also have a little bit of a chat about how she got this chest freezer cold plunge up and running, and she can maybe give you some insights or tips about how she went about doing that, and what her do-it-yourself skill level was before. But really, the most important thing is not really so much about the how she did it, but the why she did it. So, Jen, welcome. Thank you for having this conversation with me today.
Well, thank you so much. It's a real pleasure to be here and try to help spread the word about cold water.
Great. So just so the people watching can know where you are, where are you in the world?
I'm in sunny Derbyshire, which is just south of Manchester. So everyone's heard of Manchester United. They're just up the road from me.
All right, awesome. So tell me, why don't we start with just you have quite a story, and I know a little bit about it just from what I've read in the group that you're in, and I would love for you to share just whatever you'd love to share with just about the challenges that you were facing and the struggles that you were facing before you found cold water, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about what you tried and what wasn't working to start with to kind of frame the conversation.
Okay, so about 2 years ago, I started to struggle with work. I've always been a real high achiever, and I've thrived under pressurizing myself. I realize now that was because I was trying to distract myself from trauma, which I've experienced as a child. And I think there's only so much you can put your body through decade after decade. All my life, I've had violent dreams and nightmares. I've always been extremely intense, and I've had real issues with my energy levels. Even at university, people used to think it was quite amusing that I needed to have rests all the time to kind of recharge. And as the decades passed, I'm in my 40s now, that got worse. But also the Me Too movement sprung up, and here in the UK, don't even like to say his name, but the whole Jimmy Savile affair. He was a big TV personality, and he'd been allowed to abuse many children and adults. And I realise now that triggered PTSD in myself, which I think I'd had low lying all my life. I'm getting better understanding of it now. And I got really very seriously ill with it. Just go down the list of symptoms, and I have them all. I was acutely ill. And I also developed chronic fatigue. So that kind of, PTSD, oh my gosh, your energy levels are all over the place. Your emotions are all over the place. I'd always had difficulty controlling my emotions. That's why I was kind of a workaholic. I used to just throw myself into work and exhaust myself with that. And my sleep was terrible. My diet was terrible. I was propping myself up with caffeine and sugar just to try to get through the day, desperate to keep my job, trying to work through fatigue. And, just kept having to have time off work, and it was just terrible. And eventually I did lose my job. That tends to be what happens to people, because there's no system to fall back on. You've got to work, you've got to try to work, and that's what the doctors encourage you to do. But when you've got PTSD and fatigue, I don't even class it as a mental health thing anymore. It's actually recognized that trauma is in the body as much as the mind. I think this is the massive thing for cold water. I found myself in a really bad place with an illness which I couldn't control. I tried everything. I tried supplements, I tried keto, I tried meditation, I tried, obviously there's times when you can't do anything, you're just there on the sofa, just try to recharge. And, counseling, all that kind of thing. And I was pretty desperate. So
it sounds like you did a huge amount of things.
I really honestly, I tried everything, exercise, sleeping tablets, because I was having such terrible time sleeping. There's a verdium, got my calm app, and I was doing all the dietary stuff, clean eating, cut out alcohol, cut out caffeine, back on caffeine. So I was like, so I mean, there's nothing I felt within my grasp that I hadn't tried. And then I think it was in December, I started seeing pictures of a few friends going in the local river doing cold water. And some people had told me about outdoor swimming and how much it helped them. So I've been very open about what I've been going through because, I just felt it helps me, and it would help other people because it's such a kind of closed thing and a closed experience. You go online to read about PTSD and chronic fatigue, and it doesn't even scratch the surface of what it's like to experience it.
Right. And I think there's here, at least in the US, I know there's also a very big stigma with expressing anything that's going on emotionally or mentally in terms of, PTSD or insomnia or anxiety or depression.
Yeah,
People, it's not okay to say, hey, I'm feeling these huge, heavy things in my life and it's impacting my work, my relationships, my family, everything. And
absolutely.
so
You
it's
know,
so I really want to acknowledge you, just to say that you're having the courage to speak out and be very open about that makes a huge
thank you.
difference. And that, I think that's going to inspire a lot more people to where I think ultimately my hope is that someday this can be a normalized conversation to say that it's okay to talk about these things and address them.
Well, and I know this makes people uncomfortable, and I did mention it, but what I do want to say is that I was abused as a child, and I kept that in for many, many years. And actually, I've learned that when you keep that trauma inside, not only are you damaging yourself, you're stopping other people from speaking out and being able to report it. And that's what I did. I went to the police and, got somewhere with them. We got a certain distance, but I've learned that keeping these things in and not talking about it and the shame of it, you're not helping yourself. And you're not necessarily helping other people. That's just my view of it, and that's my experience. But I kind of do want to say that as well. I hope that's safe.
Right. And that's actually almost an entirely different conversation, but it's certainly tangential to what we're talking about, which is the shadow work or the integration work. I think almost everybody has some degree of trauma or another in their lives, and we don't want to talk about these things because they're uncomfortable.
Yeah, trauma comes in so many different forms, and I've learned so much. And that's why I'm quite passionate about the cold water, because now I understand more about how trauma works. It's not up here, it's actually right down here. And I think, I passionately believe for some people that, cold water, and I do the breath work as well, because I believe that adds to it. There's clear, how do I say this? The actual, there's studies which you can actually say this is what is physically happening in the body, and this is what cold water does to it. Some people need to know the science. I actually don't, because within days, I was getting benefits from it.
And that was just from starting with the cold water swimming.
Yeah, I saw these. I'm sorry, go on.
I was going to ask if were you doing the Wim Hof method officially at that point? Did you add the breathing, or was it just the swimming that started to even make that difference?
Well, this is awful. I can't really swim very well at all, so I'm not a swimmer. And I used to hate getting cold. And a lot of people say that, I don't like being cold. I was quite a cold person. I'm not, one of these to strip off and just run and jump in a lake. I am now, but I wasn't then. But yeah, someone I know one of the ladies who was getting in the water was quite open with me about her PTSD and how she felt the water was helping. And I was literally at desperation point. I was unemployed. I was very hesitant to apply for jobs because I couldn't rely on my health, whether I would have a crash or not. It was really, really difficult. I don't want to let myself down again, as I felt I was doing, or an employer. So I was desperate. And so she said, why not try a cold shower? And so I did. I just turned the shower to cold and got under it. And basically I was like this. I was like something like that.
Right.
For about, I think I managed to do just under 30 seconds my first time. And I did measure the water temperature. Here in the UK, it was in January, it was about 6 degrees. So it was pretty chilly. And then from that, I stuck at it, did it the second day. And then on the third day, for me, something absolutely incredible happened. I managed to get up to about 1.5 to 2 minutes. And I suddenly felt this, I'm used to it now, but then I felt this surge of energy, and all I can describe is happiness. And all my life, I've just been dead inside. I know I've tried to make a smile. Of course, I've got a loving family and things, but I believed I wasn't truly feeling happiness. It was just somehow locked down in me. So I've punished myself my whole life for what I felt I'd allowed to be done to myself. And just to feel that moment of, I can only describe it as sheer joy. And also to feel the energy, because I realized, I thought, this energy is inside me. It's here. And it was almost as if it got unlocked in that moment. And that was a turning point for me. And from that, I continued the cold showers. I was getting that lift. I was also doing the breath work as well, which I didn't get the lift from, but I was kind of feeling mellow and relaxed. So that was kind of really nice. But then the next big moment was the week after. And someone said, hey, we're going down to the reservoir. And bear in mind, I think it was like minus 15 degrees wind chill. So I was actually really lucky. We had a really severe winter here. And we broke the ice. I got in that water and I sat in it for 4 minutes. I didn't have any specialist gear. My feet were freezing. My hands felt like concrete blocks. And I got back in my car, hot water bottle and all that, drove home, started shaking. Like, I really thought I'd hurt myself. I'm like, this isn't good, this can't be good. But then about 2 hours later, we've gone out to walk the dog to try and get my circulation going. And I had what I class as one of the most remarkable moments in my life, in that we were walking down the canal and I stopped dead in my tracks, because I felt the thing that had been there for decades in my mind. I felt it lift. I felt the blackness. I felt the blackness in my mind actually lift. And I think anyone who's experienced depression will know what I'm saying when I say that. And it was gone. It was so strange. It was gone, because it's something I've had to fight to kind of push back and hold back on so much of my life.
And this was within the first week or so,
This was in the second week. The second week. So maybe about 8, 9 days in. And it was replaced not by nothing. It's not that it just went. It was replaced by this feeling of just like fuzzy joy in my mind. It was just, I'd never felt anything like it. It's not like being happy maybe when you see a long lost friend or Christmas Day or something like that. It was something I've physically not experienced. So, that lasted the whole evening, a couple of hours. And so I kept my practice up, sometimes going in twice a day. I actually started going in the stream at the bottom of my garden. And those feelings started to get stronger and continue for longer. And it literally changed my life. My partner calls me New Jen, because she just says my personality has changed so much. I don't get the black moods anymore. They've never come back. I'm not saying I'm.
How long has it been though? So
gosh. Well, it will be nearly 9 months now. I've not felt it again. I've continued my practice though. I do cold water almost every day without fail. And, I don't get the mood swings. They gradually stopped. I used to get really bad PMS, and I was just horrible and cold and angry, and I don't get any of that anymore. My energy levels, I still had fluctuations. So when my energy would drop down, I'd jump in the shower or go down the stream. But gradually that stops. I've got such steady energy levels. I don't need to rest in the day anymore. Actually, something, if you don't mind me saying, else remarkable happened to me. This was about 2 to 3 weeks in. So I always had these awful violent dreams, and I understand now that was my trauma playing out, being chased, being murdered, being terrified every night. It's all I used to dream about. And those started to get less severe as I was doing the water. And then a few weeks in, so my worst dream, I used to have this, I call it a night terror, it was so bad I'd wake up and still be in it, was of this house, and I'm being chased in this house to the death by someone who was like the living dead. You know, it was just terrifying. So there I was in my dream, walking down the street, and I could see the house. It was like Amityville kind of horror house.
Right.
And in my dream, I actually said, I'm going to change that for a nice house. And I changed it for this nice house. And since that night, I have never had a nightmare again.
Wow.
You know, I actually decided not to have another nightmare in that dream. I understand now it's called lucid dreaming. Never had it before, never had it since. And actually, as time went on, I stopped dreaming altogether. And, you know, I do the breath work before bed. And again, I credit it with the cold water. The breath work helps as well. And that's changed my life. I sleep literally like a baby.
That's awesome. That is an amazing story.
Oh, I've got more, John.
Yes, do tell.
So I used to suffer from really bad headaches, and headaches verging on migraines. So I'd have to take there's something called Sulfidine Max in the UK, which is a opioid you can't take for more than 3 days. I would have to take those on a very regular basis. I wouldn't go anywhere without them. If I wasn't taking those, I was taking headache tablets, and occasionally I'd need migraine tablets, and it was constant. And my partner had always said, you need to go and do something, you know, see a doctor. Those stopped. Literally, that was again first week or two, and I am headache free. I mean, maybe I've had a couple of headaches in the last 9 months, maybe when there's a storm coming, can be a bit sensitive, but only very minor. So again, it's.
And have you still continued or needed to take that medication at all?
No, I'm on no medication at all now. I did go off my meds and was on some St. John's wort. The reason I went off the meds is because, you know, I was on various medications from the doctor, and it was like a cocktail, and I felt I wasn't at the point of literally being so desperate that I had to take it, so I felt it was best to take her off. So I stopped that just before.
And just as a quick note, we do want to say that I'm not a physician, and I'm guessing you're not a physician either. So if anybody is on medications, did you talk with your doctor, or did you make the choice to do this on your own?
No, I agreed with my doctor to taper off the medication, and we said we would review whether I needed to go back on it. And that is when I started the cold water. You know, and I went from just being, you know, I fought all my life with depression. I used to feel flat or black, and you know, kind of shut out, often disassociated at times. And that was why, you know, I led my life, throw myself into work, because that was the only time, you know, I could forget about feeling like that. So I've kind of been on and off antidepressants my whole life. And then when the PTSD came in, you know, it was kind of bit more heavy duty medication.
Right. And so is this a physician that you have seen over time that really knows your history and is familiar with you?
Oh, I'm afraid we're in the UK, John. So you see a different doctor every time. Every time you go to there's no consistency, sadly, in that.
But he did see your chart with your history, or at least he or she saw that history. Was your doctor or physician so surprised at your ability to wean off and no longer need these medications, or did they have any comment or thought about what you were doing?
No, this is the UK. We've got, you know, it's a really desperate situation with GPs. So no, not at all. I've got to say, you know, it was just like, here's some meds, try them. There's no effort to look at why I needed that medication. I'd sadly, you know, and maybe it's the same there. I've had to do a lot of the work myself to understand it, and you know, and try to find solutions. I mean, you know, there's some groups on Facebook, and I'm sure you know, there's a lot of people just desperately trying to overcome chronic fatigue, long COVID, depression, anxiety, all the, you know, insomnia, exhaustion, whatever it is. And trying to find their own solutions. And, you know, all our bodies are different.
Yes.
And, you know, cold water, I don't promise that anyone's going to get the results that I have, but I think it's worth a try. And I know a lot of people who it's, well, as you know, we both know what we've seen on the group and other groups. It's helped very many people.
Right. And I think that's an important thing to point out, because I know that there are some people who are kind of in the skeptical mindset, and unless you have a double-blind, placebo-controlled, randomized clinical study done by a team of researchers, they're not going to accept anything else as evidence. And that's kind of somewhat in opposition to just people going out and doing these things. We people can become their own researchers. Pay attention to their bodies and get these incredible results for themselves. And when you see large numbers, an increasingly large number of people being able to step into cold water, and it's having these kind of effects, it makes you go, I wonder what's going on here. But there is a growing amount of research that is ongoing, that has actually already been published, and that is continuing to be done, taking an interest in the cold water immersion. And it's great to see that we can have these results without that, and that the evidence, the research is actually starting to back what we're hearing, the stories like what you're sharing with us.
Absolutely. And, it does help to understand. So I'd never even heard of a vagus nerve before. Yeah. But when I read about it, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that's a feeling. I used to call it my fountain of happiness. I'm like, oh my God, it switched on again. So I'd have this feeling coming up from, my kind of stomach area up through my body and over to my arms, which is where the vagus nerve flows. Maybe a coincidence, maybe not. But I think it's one of those things. I totally agree, John. There's some, science is catching on to this and taking a real interest, because they can see how many people it's benefiting. But also, I'll put my hand up. I was desperate. Jumping in a cold shower was no price to pay.
Right.
For trying to get my life back. And all I wanted to do was to be normal again. I didn't want to have an energy crash. I didn't even think for a moment that it might help with PTSD and all the other symptoms associated with that. I didn't even think about the depression side of it. Yet I've gone from down here to wanting to be here to literally, and I'm not selling anything here, literally being up here. And it's transformed my life. I've got I don't know, I have energy. I don't have the black dog, and that cloud of weighing me down anymore. And, I'm normal. I have good days and bad days, but not like before.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So is there, before we start talking about the chest freezer part of this, is there anything else that you want to share just about your past, or just the journey that you've been on in terms of how it's helped you?
There isn't a part of my life it hasn't helped. I sleep. I can't believe how well I sleep. I got to a point of dreading going to sleep because of what I might experience while I was asleep. I look forward to going to sleep now. I wake up feeling refreshed. I just have energy all day long. I would say it's settled down a bit, because for the first few months I was literally jumping out of bed, like full on, full of it. And that kind of did settle down, which I think is a good thing. It's more normal. I've just got really stable energy levels. I don't get moody the same. I don't have to try and control it or fight it all day long, which is exhausting. And I think also people do say, I can get in this water and it's given me loads of resilience, I can do anything. Well, actually, that's kind of true, because I have found that I've always lacked confidence. I've been very successful, but I've always lacked confidence, like many of us do, and self-belief. I thought I was fundamentally an awful person. And so I have thrived all my life on negative thoughts, basically, about myself. But I don't do that anymore. And when my mind starts to maybe talk to myself like, oh, you can't achieve this, oh, this isn't going to work, I've got something inside me now somehow that says, I'm going to have a go at making it work. I'm not going to listen to you anymore. And I just didn't have that before. So there is something there. Like I'll tell you today, I didn't really fancy getting in my chest freezer this morning. I don't jump in with wild abandon every day, and I wasn't really in the mood. But actually, I know that when I'm not really in the mood is precisely when I should be getting in, and I do it. And I've taken that attitude into other parts of my life.
Right. That's amazing. Thank you. Thank you. So let's talk, like, how did the chest freezer fit into this then? Where did you get the idea or come across the idea of using a chest freezer, and why, when you've got access to these nice natural cold waters and the cold showers, uh, what inspired the chest freezer part of this?
So I was there going down to my beautiful stream once or twice a day, and it really is very scenic. It's like the fairy glen, you know. I was putting photos on Instagram, and people were saying,
Mm,
"Oh, you should do retreats and stuff like that." Looks beautiful, and it's very, very relaxing. However, the water temperature started to gradually rise, as you would expect, and I did notice that the benefits were decreasing. And by that, I mean, you know, that kind of high, I was stopping experiencing that. And just this extra oomph it's been giving me it was almost like, I think you said about it being exponential. Also, I can't remember, you used a really good phrase, John, on the forum. But, you know, it's like basically I realized that the colder the water, as per the massive trigger for me when it was probably a couple of degrees in the river, in the reservoir, the colder the water, the greater the effect. So on odd days when we'd had a heavy shower and it got colder and faster again, I'd come out with that kind of buzz, feeling kind of more energized. Whereas when I was in there and it was getting to like 14 degrees, and I've kind of read this is, you know, when you start to get around 13, 14, 15 degrees, it's not really doing anything for your vagus nerve anymore. And I can kind of literally feel that effect on me. And so I'd kind of seen this chest freezer group popping up, and I thought it looked a bit crazy, people sat in chest freezers. So
right.
it'd been something at the back of my mind about it. And I knew I had to come up with a solution, but also I was actually starting EMDR. So it's one of these, it's that weird magic thing they do to help process trauma.
Yes.
Because although I was feeling great, if I let myself think about what happened to me and the person who did it, I could feel this knot of tension and discomfort inside of me. And while I felt it was manageable, I felt so strong and so good. I thought, I'm going to get rid of that. So I was going to start EMDR, and I thought, I want to have the cold water there because I think I might need it. And so I joined your group. Facebook had been pushing it at me for a while because I'm on a few cold water groups. And straight away, you know, had a look around, saw your book, and I thought, I think it was like £19, $30, something like that. I know that £19, if that's going to change my life, I'm going to pay it. So I bought your book. And I have to say, I'm really, I'm a mega skeptic about ebooks and downloads because there's so much trash on the internet. I come from an educational background, so I know. And as soon as I looked at it and saw the quality and depth of information, I thought, this guy knows. He knows what it's like and how life-changing it is. And he's put everything into this book. So I got your book. I found a chest freezer on eBay, new and used, and just went for it.
Awesome. And how has that changed your daily practice then? Or tell us a little bit about the accessibility of that. Or well, first of all, before we jump into that, so how did you find the process of setting it up? Did you have concerns about doing that? Did you have trepidation about doing the do-it-yourself?
Yeah, it was really daunting because there I am. I've spent a few £100s on a chest freezer, and you know, the thought is that you can literally ruin it. Who's not going to want to buy a chest freezer covered in I don't know what JB Waterweld is, but you know, it looks like concrete when it's
Right.
when it's cured. And yeah, it felt like a lot of money to invest and a bit of a risk to take. But again, for me, you know, I know what this does for me. So if I had to spend a few £100 to assure myself that my life will continue as it had been for those past few months, well, it was a no-brainer, really. I think the only thing I will say is it can be there's so much information in your book, and this isn't the criticism, but there's so much. It's like, oh no, what do I do? Do I use this form of, you know, freezer or that form? Am I going to buy the right size? Am I, but just take it step by step. Choose your freezer. Think about how you're going to seal it. Think about how you're going to line it. Then think about how you're going to keep the water clean. And you can either go all out and, get the ozone generator and custom liners, or, have it sprayed, lined or whatever. Or you can just start at the basics and upgrade later, which is the route I chose to do.
And that's awesome. So tell us a little bit about your setup. So you got the used chest freezer on eBay. Is that correct?
Well, it's new, unused.
Oh, new.
So,
okay.
Yeah, it turned out to be quite literally off the back of a lorry, but it's not stolen. But yeah, it was a bit of a story behind it that I won't go into. Yes, it's a brand new chest freezer. I discovered that in the UK you cannot get the enamelled white freezers. It's only the foiled. They look like the foiled aluminium lined ones. So I thought I'd got a white line chest freezer, and I opened it when I got home and saw all the silver and was mortified. I thought I'd made a big mistake. However, I carried on, and it's worked out really well. So also it had a compressor lump in it, which I didn't expect either. So it was kind of a bit of a disaster, the purchasing of it. But I just want to tell people, if you don't think you can find the dream freezer, if you get a freezer and it's maybe not quite what you think it is, don't necessarily worry, not all is a disaster, because I was in that place, but within 2 days I had a functioning ice plunge, basically.
Yeah, that's awesome, and that's a really good point to bring up, Jen, because I think a lot of people get stuck in the process of making a decision. They get overwhelmed with the information, and they say, "Well, I have this ideal vision of what my chest freezer needs to look like," instead of just getting started. And the thing is, like, you can get started simply and easily, and even inexpensively, and get the benefits of the cold water. Get your practice going, and then if you continue and the benefits are amazing, you can always upgrade later, but don't wait to get started.
That's so true. And that's the route I took, because, I'm being careful with my money. It did feel like a lot to spend. And now I've done it, I realise that, the ability to upgrade is really easy. I was a bit worried. I'm like, oh no, it's an aluminium lined freezer. It's going to be a disaster. It's only going to last 2 minutes, but actually it's doing great. So what I did was got the JB Water Weld. And, I know people kind of balk at the cost of it, but for me, it's been worth every penny, because it was easy to apply. So I had a friend help mix it. I think that's quite important whilst I applied it. And I'll have a go at DIY, but I've never used a product like that before. So it's kind of pretty scary. I watched your video about 100 times, and we're like checking the consistency, and, but it went a bit pink because we used water on our gloves. So, I had a bit of a panic, but I must say,
applying that JB Water Weld is kind of a rite of passage almost.
Yeah, it is. Once we got into the swing of it, it was absolutely fine. I think we did it in about 3 to 4 hours, maybe.
Right.
And it was almost, we actually had a bit of fun, but obviously, and then you've got to wait until the next day to see if it's all peeled up, like that horror little strip of JB Water Weld on one of your videos where it wasn't applied properly. So all I can say is, even though I am, not one of these people on the forum who's maybe quite good at DIY, I'll change a plug, I might have a go if you paint my room, whatever. I managed to do it, no issues whatsoever. Every little bit is absolutely solid on that freezer. So don't worry about it. It's not going to be a disaster. If I can do it, anyone can do it.
Right. Awesome. And so what else about your setup or your system would you like to share with people about what you're doing now?
I just went the PVC route, because I would have had to wait longer to get these EPDM, a slightly thicker liner.
Yes.
And I just couldn't wait. So I just kind of shot off to the local shop, and they had a PVC liner. That's the cheapest, pretty much the cheapest way of doing it. I know the liner won't last forever, but if it does me a few months and it's doing great so far, it was all about just getting going. And, will this thing switch on? Will it cool the water?
Right.
Will it just buckle and collapse or something like that? And none of that's happened. So I'm really happy. That was £49. And I'm really happy for that kind of investment that, now for 2.5 months, I've had my cold water. I use the ratchet strap around the top.
Yes.
To hold the liner down and in place. That's really good. That was £5. And I got the Inkbird because I was absolutely shocked. So I put a foot of water in the chest freezer and I thought, I'm going to have to wait like a week for this to cool. Well, the next morning it had ice on it.
Right.
Just unbelievable how effective it was. So then I put another foot of water in and ordered my Inkbird because I realised that the freezer only needs to be on a very short amount of time every day, which was a surprise.
Right.
And I'm at the moment, I've got a filter in there. I didn't actually buy that originally. I just went with using tea tree oil and thinking I would change my water every week. The Marineland filter, being based in the UK, was a concern for me in terms of it's so much more expensive to ship over here. So I found an equivalent UK model, which seems to be doing fine,
Excellent. And would you mind sharing what that model and brand is for people that are in the K that are listening and don't have to get the Marineland or use the step down converter?
Yeah, I got the Fluval U4, which seems to have more power than the Marineland filter.
Awesome.
And you can buy the little kind of the equivalent, I believe, of the polishing filter. But all I'll say is my water's just really clean. It's been absolutely fine. So I'm using that and the tea tree oil and changing my water every 3 to 4 weeks.
Beautiful.
And that's been easy as well. I've got it in my garden shed, the chest freezer, and I'm just using a pipe at the moment, a bit of hose pipe to take the water out. So I've not had to invest in any kind of pump to replace the water yet. No doubt we'll get the ozone thing to keep water clean. But again, it's quite nice in that, I don't know if you'll say this, I think I've invested at the lowest level in many ways. I've done a JB Weld. I've got a basic liner, which you have to do for aluminium. The ratchet round the top. I had some existing gym floor matting, which I was able to use to support it underneath. Tea tree oil was a £5 from Holland and Barrett's. And that was it. The next thing was the Inkbird, which I thought this was just going to make my life easier.
Right.
Not necessary.
And that's another great point too. You can get started very simply, and then you can always add these components later on as your budget allows. And
yeah, I didn't have the Inkbird and I didn't have the submersible filter because I wanted to be sure. Considering I got this off eBay, it was a bit. It was one of these purchases I really didn't know whether it was going to switch on and work. And I was worried about the aluminium. Yeah, it just got me going. And, I've got it set to it's around 0.5 degree in temperature. It feels really nice and strong and supported getting in. I put the bird music on my phone, so it's not quite got the ambience of the stream.
Right.
And, but it's honestly, I wish I'd done it sooner because the big thing as well, I used to have to run out down to the stream early morning before the dog walkers and other people started wandering past and staring at me. And also before the midges came out and the water got warm. Whereas this now, I can just jump in at any time. If I feel I need it, if I feel, a bit tired. Actually, John, I'm going to say something else. So I've got scoliosis. I don't know if you know what that is. It's a double curve in the spine. I get a lot of back pain. I'm also trying to develop a wildflower meadow around my house, doing the eco thing. And every year we have to cut it with a rotavator and a parasite. And it's like trying to control a wild lawnmower on steroids basically. It's awful. It's like a 7-hour day job for 3 or 4 days. Absolutely kills my back. Every year I've been in agony every night. Just done it this time. After each session, so it's literally 7 hours. It's taken 3 or 4 days to do it. I got in the ice bath. Oh my God. So getting in stiff and sore, seriously, it's worked magic with my back as well. It's incredible. My partner won't get in it. And she's been really like, I need the ice pack. I'm like, just get in the chest, please. It's fantastic. So, that's just another thing that you can just jump in at any time for whatever reason. So it's,
Right.
it's,
Yeah.
can I thank you personally, John,
Mm.
because what you are doing, seriously, you're changing lives. You've changed my life. You really have. And you share your knowledge in such a selfless way. I knew as soon as I read it, John, I thought you're getting a bit emotional, but you're a good man, and you've worked so hard to learn all this stuff, and you share things that can change people's lives for better. So I just want to thank you for that.
Well, you're very welcome, Jen, and I appreciate your acknowledgement. And thank you. Yeah, I'm getting emotional too.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, yeah, definitely thank you. I feel like I am on a mission, and I feel like that, I know how the cold water impacted my life, and that's another story. But for me to be able to support people in some way, it's funny because in 2014 or 2013, when I met Wim Hof, when he was here in Austin, he did a 2-day workshop, and I was just sharing with him a little bit about my before and after experience there. And he says, "Well, maybe someday you'll work with us." And just the logistics and all of the thing about becoming a Wim Hof instructor never really seemed to exactly call to me. But there, something in some way being able to help people support people in getting their own cold plunge, whether it's the do-it-yourself route or now being able to help people select a professionally built model. I'm here to support people to take the technical part out of it so that they don't have to struggle with that piece of it, and they can get into the benefits of getting into the water as quickly as possible. And stories like yours and how your life has changed, that inspires me every day to keep doing what I'm doing. So thank
Well,
you.
please don't stop. And can I just want to say one last thing for anyone
Sure.
listening to
Yeah.
this. Don't just get some silicone sealant and think you can just seal,
Right.
you can just seal it, seal a chest freezer, fill it with water and get in, because you'll be jumping out very quickly.
Right. Yeah, that seems to be the ongoing big thing. That's one of the single largest mistakes that people make is they end up killing their chest freezer because somebody suggested, do it, take a shortcut. And I think most people just don't know, but I'm trying to get the message out. So,
And and you're doing it selflessly. It works. And, just imagine if you could change your life and actually enjoy being alive. How much is that worth? And I can tell you that's what it does for me every single day. I've never been happier. I don't feel I've lived. I've just been fighting all the time, fighting off the emotions, fighting off the moods, fighting off the memories, distracting myself with work and hobbies. And I don't have to do that anymore, and it's all because of that. And a few £100 to transform a life might feel like a gamble, but there's other ways of trying cold water first to see if maybe you are going to get a reaction if you're unsure about it.
right. And that's also a really good point too. If there's anybody watching this who feels hesitant about, well, I'm not sure I can commit that amount of money, you can take 20 pounds, which is maybe $30 euro, I guess, and buy 180, 100 pounds of ice, however many that is in kilograms, 40, 50 kilograms of ice, and put that in your bathtub
Yeah.
and start there. And if you can do that practice for a few times and just notice how it changes your life, and notice what benefits you get from that, you can always step up later. But
Yes.
start somewhere, start where it's accessible and easy.
100%. 100%. And that was my journey: the shower,
Yeah.
the reservoir, the stream,
Mm,
and then the chest freezer. So
beautiful.
it's all been steps, and I'm never looking back. And I'm looking forward to continuing to upgrade my chest freezer.
Right.
It works. It's great. The next step, sanitation, maybe some flashing lights or something like mood lights or something.
Right. Yeah, there's always ways to continue to grow on the journey. And with regards to that, you've kind of hinted that you are taking a new path also with your story and how this has impacted your life. And so tell us a little bit more about what your new inspiration around this is, and if you've got some tools or resources that people could reach out to you. I'm not sure exactly what you're doing, but maybe speak a little bit to that. If someone wants to get in touch or follow you, or see what you're doing or what you're up to or how you're helping change lives.
Yeah. So I mean, at the moment, I've got a little Instagram account that I set up to try and help people, because I could see, Facebook's great. And I felt really compelled to share my journey. So I feel like a medical miracle, John. I really do. I'm like, this has changed my life. This has changed my life. It's changed my personality. And I'm not the only one saying that. It's the people around me who I interact with who are saying that back to me as well. I'm like, I don't need to go, can you see a difference? And they're like, you're different, you've changed, you're positive, I'm talking more, I'm not in this little shell anymore. And so, I did, I've set up just a little Instagram account for now, and it's Stronger Everyday Lady, where I charted my journey day by day, like little things like being able to cook a meal and eat it and not be exhausted.
Right.
Those moments where I'd just be ecstatically happy and for no reason. I wanted to share that to try and inspire and help people understand that they can change their lives. It may be cold water, it may not, but there's a solution. I do passionately believe that there's a solution out there. It's worth searching and trying, and never stop trying for your solution. But also, obviously, I do share the tips on there. Right now, I've been telling people about the chest freezer, reassuring them that I haven't been electrocuted or let the lid up on my head and been trapped in and frozen to death, anything like that. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. But I'm a bit like yourself, maybe. I spent many years suffering when actually I now believe I didn't need to. And, if I can help anyone alleviate their pain, whether mental, physical, or both, I will do. And I'll give one example, actually. My a close relative of mine has fibromyalgia. Now, I believe that's probably trauma related as well. And I've mentioned, the cold showers to them. This is before the chest freezer. And so every evening they've been such a physical pain, muscular pain. They would have to take painkillers, quite strong painkillers, and go to bed, just try to see the time through until, we could get up again in the morning. And I was talking to them about it. Half an hour later, I get a text message saying, I've just had a cold shower.
Awesome.
And it's helped my pain. And so they started having cold showers twice a day, and they are able now to be alleviated pain in the evening. So not having to take the painkillers and actually able to stay up and have an evening, which before they couldn't. So
right. And how long of a period of time? How short of a period of time was that?
Well, for them, it was immediate. It provided literally immediate relief. So, this person didn't have any other symptoms apart from what's diagnosed as fibromyalgia. So, excruciating muscle pain, other kind of things. So that was immediate relief to them. So my next mission is to get them to get a chest freezer and convert it. So I'm hoping they're going to come up, take a look, maybe give it a go. And I know I've earmarked their garage as a suitable location for the freezer. Right. But, it's just little things like that. There's a few other people who I've shared a message with, and it really has changed their lives. So, that's all I'm doing right now. But I'd love to do more, because this is life-changing.
Yes, it is. Well, Jen, I really want to thank you for sharing your story and just your journey with how it's impacted your health and your life. And I find I am very deeply inspired just to have this conversation with you, and I'm really deeply honored. And I want to honor you as well for your journey and for the courage that you've taken to keep trying and keep looking for solutions, and the way that you've changed your life. And not only that, but also being willing to help inspire other people to have these changes and find out how cold water can benefit them as well. So kind of in wrapping up, is there anything else that you'd like to share? Any insights or encouragements or anything else that you'd like to communicate or instill to people who might be listening to this?
I think just look at the benefits that I've experienced, that other people have experienced. And if the thought of getting under a cold shower, being cold for a split second, which is what it is, once you've got used to it, give it a few days. If that's what's stopping you from potentially changing your life, just have a little think. imagine what your life could be like and believe you can change it, because cold water could be the thing that could do it for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't feel like you can do this on your own, do reach out and get help. There's a growing number of groups, whether it's online or even in person, people who are meeting to get into cold water. So find a community, whether it's online or in person locally. Just do what you can to get that support that you need to, just experiment and give this thing a try for yourself and find out how it can change your life. Because sometimes it can happen instantly. Sometimes it can grow over a few times or a little bit of a dedicated practice. But whether that change happens on the first day or if it happens after a few times or some time, it can be, like Jen is saying, life changing. So Jen, thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you, John. I really appreciate your time, and yeah, keep up the good work.
All
Thank
right,
you.
great. All right, well, I'll see you in the group.
Thank you.
All
Bye.
right, bye-bye.